Okay, so we just finished talking about how attachment is so important, a foundational piece of a flourishing relationship. We're now going to talk about the types of love that are going to be necessary, and then once those two foundational components are there, then you can actually think about, well, what could you do as a partner to develop a healthy relationship? Much of this work really focuses on different types of love, and so we're going to distinguish two really important ones that I think make a lot of sense if you sort of just think about sort of common sense relationships. Compassionate love, which is this sort of affection that two people feel for each other when their lives are really deeply intertwined, and passionate love, which is obviously very intense, it's very pleasurable, but can also be very aversive, right? And so when we think about sort of these two types of systems, we can think of compassionate love as really being related to sort of empathy and altruism, whereas passionate love is really the very physical, emotional sort of side, the sort of intense, pleasurable emotion sides that come with love. Numerous studies have tried to explore different sort of prototypes of love, and almost all of them include a passionate and compassionate feature. And when we actually ask people sort of what do they consider the most important parts of love, we see, again, these sort of implicit theories of love, much like sort of the implicit theories of wisdom, where there's a lot of universal agreement that you need to have certain features in love to have the right type of relationship. You need to have trust and caring and honesty and friendship and respect. And what most people have concluded is that you need this sort of right mixture of compassionate and passionate love. And I think that a lot of times, at least, there's sometimes this lore, this idea to talk about how compassionate love is better. But Hendrick and Hendrick actually have a really important paper that shows that erotic love or passionate love is actually the most important predictor to relationship satisfaction. And that is true regardless of relationship length. So sometimes there's this this myth that's sort of out there that you have passionate love in the very beginning, and that's really important. And then as you sort of grow older in your relationship, that compassionate love is really important, and passion is much less important. But actually, most of the data that Hendrick and Hendrick have published have actually showed that that's not true. That's not the norm, and that passionate love matters no matter what your age is, and no matter how long your relationship has been together. Sternberg, who seems to be a dominant force in so many different areas. We looked at Sternberg's work when we talked about this wisdom theories. He also has theories of love, and basically what he says is that there's three different types of components, and because there's three different types of components that either can all be present or absent, you can get into these sort of 8 different types of love style. And so for example, if you have a strong commitment but you really don't have any liking or any passion, that's really where you would have sort of this empty love. When you have passion only, but you really have no commitment or liking, that's when you're really going to have this sort of infatuation sort of sense. And so again, much like others, Sternberg agrees that romantic love is this sort of complex emotion that results from really passion and compassion, but he also wants to add on to that liking. And so consummate love is really where you have all three components together. So you have intimacy, you have passion, you have commitment, and that's really the more durable type of love, the type of love that's going to be the most enjoyable and is obviously going to be the most enduring. And so what's nice about Sternberg's theory of love is that it can really help us understand how relationships develop over time. So before meeting another person, there would probably be an absence of any of these three types of love, and that was what we call non-love. Intimacy might be what we see in the beginning, and then perhaps commitment kind of comes along, and then after that, if you can actually have passion as well, then you're going to have consummate love, and that's really when you've seen the ultimate ideal of love has been flowered, to use his language. So various expressions of love are important, and really no type of theory really captures all the nuances there, but what is really important is that love really manifests itself across all cultures and ages very differently, but actually what's interesting is, as opposed to most of the other sort of cultural differences here, is that Sternberg's theory seems to apply to individuals of most all cultures, all ages, and sexual orientations. Now, what we want to talk about here at the end of this are these practical things that we can do. So again, at the foundation, we have to have secure attachment, which we can develop when we're infants, and if not, we can work on that as we're adults. We have to have passion and compassion in our relationships, to make sure that we have the right mixture of love, so that we can have a strong relationship. And then when we have those things, then we can add on to these sort of practical things that can enhance the closeness of our relationships, right? And the sort of conscious attention, the sort of purposeful behaviors that we're really going to sort of focus in on. And so Harvey and his colleagues have really looked at this sort of mending model, really as a way to have these purposeful types of behaviors that all couples should engage in to ensure that we have continued development in our relationships. This slide is very long and it has lots of information here, so I would strongly suggest that you pause and read all of this, because I won't have a lot of time to do that. I will just quickly talk about a couple of the sort of important ones. So this sort of idea of knowing and being known is really to sort of try and understand our partner's thoughts and feelings, and sharing them with them. Explaining our partner's behavior can really be important. So if we make relationship enhancing attributions, what we're really saying is that we're going to, anytime our partner does something that we'll view as wrong or harmful, we're going to externalize those types of attributions. We're going to say that there were situational causes, whereas if they do something really nice, we're going to consider that sort of dispositional causes, right? We're going to say that that's really a part of sort of who they are. When we look at sort of this sort of empathetic connection that's so important in our relationships, we're going to be talking about accepting and respecting others, treating each other with respect, ensuring that we don't have disagreement about our partner's like a holistic person, but really more something about something that's really specific. Okay, again, unfortunately in these talks we have to sort of go quickly, so read this slide. It's really, really fascinating. The mending model is an excellent way of sort of thinking about all the different types of purposeful behaviors that you should engage in to ensure that you actually have a flourishing relationship. And I want to end with sort of two other types of models. One is John Gottman, who has done a tremendous amount of research on the types of characteristics that are important to a flourishing relationship. One of the most fascinating things that he has advocated is this sort of magic ratio of positive interactions to negative interactions. He actually says that ratio should be 5 to 1. He goes even further to say that if you actually have done something that's negative, then you need to, quote, make up with that with 5 positive things. And so that better and deeper communication really can lead to more passion and less blame. And how do we think about the right type of communication style? Well, we can talk about sort of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. We want to make sure that we're not doing things that are critical, telling a person that they're very dumb. We don't want to do things that are contemptuous or defensive or stonewalling. So we can really, again, look at these behaviors relatively quickly here. So if you criticize your partner, you're basically implying there's something wrong with them as a person. Contempt can be sort of verbal or nonverbal, but putting yourself on the higher ground. Stonewalling would be when you actually withdraw from the conversation. And what Gottman says is that you should replace these undermining behaviors with these enhancing behaviors. So if you're feeling contempt, you should reduce the contempt and try and show your level of appreciation. If you're stonewalling, you should do some self-soothing so that you can stay in the relationship. This magic 5 hours is amazing. And then, unfortunately, I've run out of time to talk about active constructive. This is actually part of the responding style that you're going to do as an experiential learning task, so read more about it in the book.